sort of put into context why we came here and how it's related to our program on Islamic psychology, I think there's three main reasons why we want to take you here. One is to highlight the historical aspect within the Islamic tradition that Islamic psychology, the treatment of what we can say mental health or psychology from an Islamic perspective, is not some new innovation that we're coming up with now. It's something that is within our tradition and there's history to it. The other thing is that that tradition that is in our tradition, that historical Islamic tradition, is a holistic vision of healing. So when we when we talk about Islamic psychology, we're not talking about just the mental illness or mental health. It's a bigger picture that involves, there's a reason why the mental patients were treated with the TIB. It's right next door, it's all one. So that's the second message, is that it's a holistic picture of healing. And the third is that this is like an example of a model of care, right? And it's something that I think in developing or sort of reconnecting with our roots and developing this in the modern world of the Islamic tradition of healing, we need to have facilities and venues for delivering that and for healing people. And this is a beautiful example of how this is not just a hospital. They were feeding the poor. There was a communal aspect. They had a place for people to come, family members to visit, right? And like serve them tea. And it was a much more collectivist approach to community mental health than this institutionalized aspect of medicine that we see nowadays. I was struck by standing with people, and as they're reading these things and seeing these things, it's like the most striking reaction from people is like, wow, like this, I didn't realize that this existed, and this is like Islamic, this is our heritage. And these are the things that now, a lot of the things that people were seeing here, like herbal medicine and even dealing with minerals and stones, and people are used to saying those things are new age, right? New. Because somehow it's like, it's this hippie mentality to do things that are natural and holistic, or using different alternative methods for healing. But really, like, that is part of our tradition as Muslims, and it's connected to the prophetic idea of healing that the Prophet ﷺ taught us to be oriented towards a holistic vision that is based in natural remedies and intuitive, creative ways of healing, not this institutionalized model. You know, we've lost this knowledge, and so the thing that struck me when people are looking at this, like, wow, and I know most of us here are like, we're educated people. We're people who are, and we're Muslims who are dedicated to our tradition, and we're actively seeking knowledge. How is it that we don't know about these things? You know, it's been lost, and it's not only is it a tragedy. I believe there's something that it's our responsibility to preserve this, just as it's our responsibility to be a light to the world as Muslims. That's part of our responsibility, is to understand our tradition, to know what it has to offer the world, and to ourselves, that we're looking to these other traditions and looking to Western medicine because we've been told it's better. Like when Professor Rashid talks about even like the architecture, of how things are built, that can have an effect on someone's state. Like, this is really deep wisdom that only very little people know about. I remember when I was studying with one of my sheikhs, and I was helping him build a zawiya. And I was like building the walls and painting and rearranging, and when we were designing, like adding things in, he said, we have to build the wall right in front of the main door entrance. And I was like, why does that make sense? Then you want to welcome people in. He explained to me the wisdom in Islamic architecture is that you want to break a person's, when they're coming into the building, they're bringing in the outside world, right? They're bringing in the dunya. And so when you first enter, you want them to shift their mentality, especially with something like a zawiyah, to come into like a sacred space, right? And so the first part when you enter is when you take your shoes off. Like Musa, when he came, they said this is sacred land, remove your shoes, right? And so there's this, that is a symbolic state of entering into a state of the heart, right? And so the architecture feeds into changing somebody's hal. Like last night, Hakim Archuleta said, we say, Kayfa hal? Kayfa hal? Like how? But we don't realize that we're asking people, how's your state? Right? And so the whole idea is that there's subtle wisdom down to just where do you place the wall that can help shift the person's mental state or even the state of their being, and that all of the things around us in our community can be set up with this intention, with this ikhlas, with this niyyah of being in a state of remembrance. You know, so, and then the wall, I built the wall, and I said, well, you need a window. And so we put in a window, but it was a mashrabiyah. And so he had this mashrabiyah that he had saved from Egypt, and we put it in there. And so the idea there is that you can see a little bit, so you can see through a little bit through this like mesh of what's in there to sort of still welcome the person in, but they had to like come here, stop, okay, I'm in a different place, take my shoes off, then come over here to enter the door. And then there was a whole other series, there was another wall once they get in, because there's this developmental process of getting into a state. And so the architecture leads somebody through that developmental process, and when they get into the inside of the inside, they're inshallah in this deeper state of reflection because they've had to reflect on, I'm moving into another place. And so it's getting outside of our mentality, you know? And so these are things that have been lost, but there's people that still know them. And we have to seek these people out, learn these things, realize that they're even there for us to learn, and then preserve them and teach them to other people. It's like we need to revive our tradition, revive Islam. I mean, if you think about the process that takes place. Like look in, 1484 when this was established. The wisdom in building this place was so enormous. Like the vision for this place was, there was compassion, there was mercy, there was creativity, there was using plants and nature and understanding so much wisdom, and we had it in this whole place. This vision was whole, and it was amazingly, it sort of had the height of its era, right? And then if you notice when watching that video, over time, it got diluted and got lost. And each generation lost why they were even doing it. The building was here, they understood this was for mental patients, this was for medicine, okay, then we had the medical school, and then over time, literally the walls became decrepit. It started to lay fallow. And then the last thing that they reported on it was the only thing left were the mental patients chained to the beds. This is like a really powerful image of what is left of our tradition. That's not at all what this institution was based on. There was a mention that they were chained to their beds, but there was life. The only reason they were chained to their beds is to contain them. It's containment, holding somebody in a place in order to walk them through this developmental process of healing, but that the chain is like the aql, right? It's like the shackle to keep somebody grounded and to keep them in place, but then the healing comes from the mercy, which is expansive. And this is why the music is able to transcend these states that these people are in. But then people have lost this connection to this spiritual wisdom, and what was left was just the chain. It's like being chained to the dunya. Like Professor Malik said, we're slaves to the wrong thing. We're supposed to be slaves to Allah, but we become slaves to these other constructs that we've created. So historically, I think we wanted to show that don't need to innovate new things. We need to go back and we need to just revive it. And Islamic psychology is a holistic vision. So the vision of healing, this is called Dar al Shifaa. It's not called Dar al Tib. It's about healing. Healing is broad because we don't distinguish in the Islamic tradition between the body, the heart, the mind. Remember, Hakim said this notion of even a mind. He said, use the mind of your feet to tell you what's under the ground, right? So it's this idea that our being is whole, therefore our approach to healing has to be one, has to be whole. So meaning, as Islamic psychologists, we should be considering the whole person, and that at the very least we should have a knowledge of medicine, traditional medicine, but also have other modalities that we're constantly being aware of to deal with, not just CBT. People tend to come, because it's psychology and mental health, we get in this one trap of like only dealing with cognition. And this is like a very small aspect of the human being. We need to be dealing with the whole human being. And there's lots of different modalities of therapy that we need to be creative. Like Professor Badri is saying, we have to have a class. The main goal is just helping people, and then you be creative. How can I help this person? What do I need to do to help them? And the more tools you have in your toolbox to help that person, then you don't bind yourself into, well, I'm going to sit in this lane because I'm a psychologist and I have psychology training. So I'm only going to help them with their cognitions. Great. Now what? They have something that's involving their body that's connected to those cognitions. Then I'm going to refer you to this other person. People don't have time to see that many different people to be healed. So we have to integrate it. I do believe it's having a multidisciplinary treatment team is best, because we need to, there's people who have mastered the medicines, right? And so being able to refer to those people. Like what we have become really disconnected with in the Muslim community is a sense of nature being part of our tradition. And the reality is that natural medicine and even just natural things in general help us align with our own fitra. So people have the notion of fitra. Oftentimes people think of it in terms of like a really deep soul level. But we also live in the dunya, and our bodies have a fitra way of being, and this earth has a fitra way of being, and we living in tune with it helps us get more aligned with the fitra of our soul. So that just like the architecture, there's all these subtle wisdoms of how we can align ourselves to be in line with fitra by paying attention to these wisdoms. And so, what I would encourage, especially the medical profession, people in the room, look into our tradition, specifically with plant-based medicine. I understand the argument that when medical advancements have been made to use medicines that are more effective quicker, we need to use them. Of course, we're supposed to use things that help people heal, right? But what I'm suggesting is that when you use something in its natural state, there's a baraka in it that has more healing in it in its natural state, because it's in its fitra state as Allah created it for a purpose of healing. Like Allah says, the diversity is a mercy to us. The diversity of all of these plants, there's a remedy for every ailment in nature. And there's a benefit in taking the natural form of those remedies because they are pure. And there's an essence that is in something that is natural, that is the essence of the fitra of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala's creation. And so we have to connect with nature as a way of connecting to Allah. It's not worshipping nature. You know, people have this fear of, oh well, there's these cultures that worship nature and we have to stay away from that because we're monotheistic. Allah created these things and we're trying to connect with Allah. So becoming in tune with natural things is ibadah. It's how we connect with Allah. So we have to reformulate our understanding of healing to be more naturally oriented. This model of care that's seen here, I think my vision for Islamic psychology has always been my end goal. I have this vision of like something very similar to this. Out in the country, not in the city, to remove people out of the busyness, the same idea of the architectural thing. You have to change your physical location and change your hat. So we take people out of the city and we take them to the country. And then there's this community that's built on an intention of healing. And then it's a community of healers that have different skills, different focuses, different gifts that they can bring to helping somebody achieve their development towards witnessing Allah deeper and healing the body and the mind and the heart, everything that's blocking them from that witnessing. And so using these different modes of therapy, having horses for people to ride, just riding can be therapeutic in itself, even if you don't do equine assisted therapy. Having people pray together at the time when prayer comes in Jama'ah, in a community where the time is based around prayer rather than based around where you need to be to go to the bank and get to work, has a huge effect on your state. This is healing. People living in community in a way that is fitrah is probably the best thing we can do to heal people. Just giving them a daily life of what picture of what life was like back in the Sahaba times. And then like having a garden where there is prophetic medicines, plants being grown, right? And then having research and study on how we get back in touch with that knowledge and bringing it into the current modern century, but not changing, not fixing what wasn't broken. Still using these natural remedies because they work. There's nothing wrong with them. If something can make them better, great. But we don't need to create new things just because they make us more money. This is again what Professor Malik was saying. We have to have a class. We have to have the intention of doing good for the patient and then be creative. That's why it's a community of people. This is why I love the fact that you all have different strengths, skills, knowledge, education, passions. This is what should be in a Dar al Shifaa. Not everybody having psychology training, not everybody having medical training. We need art therapists, we need music therapists, we need medical people, we need rheumatologists, we need TIB practitioners, we need psychiatrists, we need people focusing on ethics. All of these things are healing. Because why? Islamic psychology really is no different than Islam. Because the healing is Islam. Islam is the healing. And we're orienting ourselves towards the Islamic paradigm to access that healing. And we're doing it under this guise of Islamic psychology because that's what people have become used to. You have a problem, you go see somebody. And this is, we need to embrace that, but then feed into it all these other aspects of this holistic vision of healing.